Today I have a lot of leftover taco meat. It's turkey tacos. We make them a lot. And I think my family is entirely fed up with nachos, tacos, and all of the various things that I've made. So I thought I'd spice it up today and make some empanadas. So the first thing we have to make is the dough. I have 4 cups of all-purpose flour that I'm going to put in my food processor with 2 teaspoons of salt. And I'm just going to pulse this a little to get the two combined. And then I'm going to add my butter. I have 2 sticks of unsalted butter. I'm just going to, and it's ice cold. I just took it out of the refrigerator so that we could make this dough. And we're just going to work this until you get coarse sand, or it resembles something like coarse sand. There we go. Now I'm going to take 4 whole eggs. I'm going to take 2 teaspoons of white vinegar and 2 tablespoons of ice cold water. And we're going to whisk that together. And everything is cold so that you do not, we don't want to melt the butter at all. It's the same as when you're making a pie crust. So we're going to pour that all in. Pulse it together until a dough forms. There, sometimes you gotta help it along. And sometimes there's not enough liquid. So, all I'm gonna do is add some more water by the tablespoon. All right, and one more. I'm gonna do a half a tablespoon now, and it's ice water. I still have the ice cubes sitting in it, if you can see, because you don't want that butter to melt. There we go. Now that the dough has formed, I'm gonna make some space over here. I'm going to sprinkle some flour onto my workstation. And then we're going to knead this dough. Only for about 2 minutes. You don't need to work it a lot. Just make sure it becomes one cohesive piece. And then we're going to wrap it in saran wrap and put it in the refrigerator for about an hour. And then we'll be back to make the rest of our empanadas. So all I'm going to do is work a little bit more flour in so that it's not as wet and sticky. You want it about the consistency of pie crust because it has very similar properties. And if you find that it's still sticking, add a little more flour. That's all you need to do. A little more flour. All right, nice. And if you see the dough, put my fingers in and it pops back up, that's the perfect way to know your dough is ready. So now what I'm going to do is split it into 2 sections because I'm going to fry half at a time. I'm going to fill half at a time. And then I will wrap them in saran wrap and put them in the refrigerator. So our dough has been refrigerated for about an hour. Now we're going to make our filling. I have 4 cups of our leftover taco meat and it is ice cold. And then I have 2 cups of peas. This is another way for me to get my family to eat vegetables and they don't even realize it. I'm going to mix that in. And you can fill your empanadas with whatever you want, really. It is entirely up to you. This is just, I mean, if you want to add salsa, you want to put chicken. This is just kind of a guideline. And then I have 2 cups of Colby Jack cheese. I'm just going to make sure it's all incorporated so we don't have one that has a chunk of cheese and one that has a whole bunch of peas. And there we are. Now it's time to roll out our dough. Okay, so filling is made. Now it's time for our dough. I'm going to sprinkle my table with flour. And then I'm going to work with half the dough at a time. I guess a quarter of the dough because half of it's still in the refrigerator. I separated it into 2 before I put it in the refrigerator. But you want to do about half. And you want to keep the other half still wrapped up. Otherwise the dough dries out and that does not make for yummy empanadas. Lay that over there. I'm going to sprinkle a little more flour on the top. And then we're just going to roll it out. You want it about 1/8 of an inch thick. Looks good. And then I have a 3-inch round circle cutter. I'm just going to cut circles into our dough. Save this for later. I'm going to take a spoonful of our filling, and this is just a regular tablespoon. I'm going to put it in the center. Fold it in half, and then I'm going to take a fork and seal the ends just like that. And then we're going to continue to do this until we are ready to fry our empanadas. Now, quick note, if you would like to make these ahead of time, instead of right as you are, you can freeze these for up to 2 months. You make sure they're in an airtight container, and when you thaw them out, it would be best to bake them and not fry them. And when you bake them, you'll bake them at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. We are going to fry our empanadas today. Those are a little overfull. So fold in half. There we go. We're just going to keep doing this until all our dough is used. And sometimes I do pick them up and try to manipulate the dough around the filling if the filling is too much, if I've overstuffed them, which I tend to do. So then I'll pick them up, seal them this way, and then still go back over with a fork to make sure that both ends are sealed together. And that's it. We've got 14 empanadas out of our first half of the dough. We'll probably roll the others tomorrow and just make these for dinner tonight. So now we're going to head over to the stove where we're going to heat a pot of oil. So our oil has been heating up on about an 8, and then I turned it down to a 6 until we get to 325 degrees. And then we are going to slowly drop our empanadas in. I'm going to cook them about 3 at a time. If you don't have as much oil, I put about 4 cups in. If you don't have as much oil, then you're going to need to flip them so that they can brown on both sides. But if you use this much oil, they'll do it on their own. They'll rotate throughout the oil by themselves. And then we're going to wait for them to turn this golden brown color. And then I'm going to transfer them from here to my paper towel lined cookie sheet so that the rest of the grease can drain. And I wouldn't normally mess with them, but sometimes because I put so much oil in, they need to be held down or they pop up. You see that golden color? That's perfect. We're going to put that over here and let them drain. And we'll continue with the rest of the batch until all of our empanadas are cooked. So this one, we didn't get fully sealed. You can tell because it opened up while it was in the oil. Now I have peas and beef in my oil. Same with this one. So it's very important to make sure the seal is tight. Otherwise they end up like little fried tacos instead of empanadas. But there they are. And now it's time for dinner. So I rolled out this second half of our dough and made another 21 empanadas. And these we're going to bake in an oven so you can see the difference in what they look like. These are going to go in a 350 degree oven for 25 minutes. So our empanadas cooked for 25 minutes and here they are.